Hey, Allyson Schrier, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
All right, so Allyson Schrier, you are with Zinnia TV, and so this is one of these Dementia Unplugged care conversations. We're going to be talking for about maybe 20, 30 minutes, who knows, but we're going to cover a lot of ground, and I just want to welcome everybody that's watching it. My name is Kevin Jameson. I am the volunteer president. I'm the founder. I'm the chairman of the board of Dementia Society of America, and it's just a great pleasure and honor to have Allyson with us today. So, Allyson, describe your role at Zinnia and also where you hail from today. Where are you speaking to us from?
Yeah, so I am in beautiful Seattle, Washington. You can see a little bit of the fir trees out my
Yes,
window
beautiful green,
and
very
looking out over Puget Sound. So
there's a
it's
fresh rain,
lovely,
it looks
and
like.
we have a rare cloudy day in the summertime. It's been amazing here. And I guess the other question was my role at Zinnia. Yeah, so I am, I guess, the original founder of Zinnia. I consider myself a co-founder because while I had an idea, it could never have turned into something without the amazing people that I teamed up with. And my official title at Zinnia is president.
Okay, fantastic. So first of all, I love the Pacific Northwest, one of my favorite areas. If I were to count my relatives individually by number, I have more of them in the Pacific Northwest than I do elsewhere in the country.
Mm.
But it's always great to get out there when I can. It's so beautiful. So tell me a little bit of history, since you're the co-founder of Zinnia, before we get into what Zinnia is and does and can do potentially. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Background in technology as a career, and I left that behind when I became pregnant with my first child, married a great guy. We had a couple of kids, and within a few years of having those kids, he started to change, started to have personality differences. Anyway, fast forward, it turns out when he was diagnosed at the age of 47 that he did have a form of dementia. And I was thrust into the role of being a dementia caregiver. And I did that for the rest of his sweet life. Yeah, we lost him when he was 54.
Mm.
And Zinnia is the direct result of my history, which is, as I mentioned, background in technology, dementia family caregiver, and I recognized that there were ways that communicating with a person living with dementia was challenging. There were ways that a person with dementia had different experiences with the world that resulted in them sometimes responding in ways that were difficult for me as a caregiver to support them. And so Zinnia TV is where I kind of tied all that together and created the thing that I wished that I had had. I will say that in between Zinnia TV and my initial role as a dementia family caregiver, I did become deeply curious about what is this thing called dementia, and in general, how do we support people in more meaningful ways, which led to my eventually becoming a dementia educator. So I went down the Teepa Snow path, which was fabulous, and became certified to teach a number of the classes that she has developed. And was helping family caregivers both by facilitating support groups and by doing training. But I moved on from there to gain certifications that were allowed me to teach classes in long-term care communities that are mandated for anybody who works in long-term care. So for 4 years, I was in long-term care communities, helping the people who are boots on the ground understand why people with dementia are the way they are, both
Mm.
from a biological perspective and from just a experiential perspective, and how do we best support them. And then that led me to a role at the University of Washington, where I was with a group called the Memory and Brain Wellness Center. And there I helped launch. And then for 3 years, I managed a program that was education again, but this time it was helping doctors understand how to be better equipped to support their patients who were living with dementia, their patients and their caregivers.
Right,
So
right.
lots of background in education around dementia support. And so that coupled with my tech background, coupled with my own experience as a dementia family caregiver, is really the thing that was the catalyst behind Zinnia.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So yes, a lot of personal history, but you took, your early tech background and really merged it with dementia care and caring about people living with dementia and their caregivers. So,
Yeah, I would
um,
say that's accurate.
and we probably come at it very similarly, right? I spent 40 years in the tech business, and then my wife had developed dementia. Similar things,
Mhm.
personality change came first, and memory loss was really later. But in the end, she went through the trajectory of a person living with dementia, and I went through that trajectory with her until she
Yeah.
passed away. And so we definitely have a lot in common that way. And I really appreciate that we both, and you in particular, taken one path and we're now talking together. So that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about Zinnia TV, and I know you have a partner, so you may want to mention that and what his role is. Go ahead.
Yes, sure. So let me just talk about a little bit more about how Zinnia came to be, which sort of describes what it is, and then I
Okay.
can talk about the people who
Yeah,
make it happen.
sure.
There are uh, two experiences that I had, which I'll just pop out as sort of data points that were the scaffolding behind the idea that became Zinnia. So one of them is that my husband went nonverbal fairly early on in his disease. And that was worsened when he moved into long-term care. And so I found as a family caregiver visiting him that it was really hard to make connection and to engage with him in meaningful ways. And anybody who has tried to carry on conversations with a person who can't respond, you find they become quickly very transactional. You're talking about what you did today, what you're going to do tomorrow. Here's what the kids are doing, right? It's not terribly interesting. It's hard to
Mm,
go deep. And so I discovered that if I brought visual imagery, that it would give us something that we could both focus on, and it would give me the opportunity to become the storyteller and talk
mm.
about what we were seeing. So that resulted in me bringing magazines, bringing pictures. Eventually, I would bring my phone. We would look at photos on my phone. I discovered that with my Apple product, I was able to stitch together little videos, and we could watch those videos. And they were slow paced. They were just images that were on my phone set to music, and they helped us have something that we could connect about. So that's one data point. The other data point is that I would show up at the long-term care community and find my um, husband literally parked because he was in a wheelchair that he couldn't get out of on his own in front of a television, watching programming that he would never in a million years as a healthy person have chosen to watch.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And the way that he responded to that was by looking around the room, kind of with sort of a fearful look in his eyes, like, how do I get out of here? How do I
Right,
escape?
right.
Or he might be asleep, or he might be pounding his chest and screaming, which was his way of expressing panic and
Frustration, panic,
displeasure,
yes.
right? Um, and so and the other people in the community was to say, right, like five people in wheelchairs parked in front of a TV watching Turner Classics. And so I got really curious and I thought, why are they watching that?
Mm,
And why is it that they all look completely distracted? So I discovered a paper that was published by the lead researcher was Dr. Kate D. Medeiros, uh, who uh, led a team of students to do research that resulted in this paper that was called Television Viewing and People with Dementia Living in Long-Term Care. Like
mm.
that's what I'm talking about. And so they recognized that, something's not right here.
Right.
What would be the appropriate kind of viewing experience for people living with dementia? And why is regular programming not the answer? So they showed them I Love Lucy. They showed them Jerry Springer. They showed them Bob Ross doing his paintings.
Yeah.
And they also showed them a show that was called Venice. And Venice was simply images set to
Mm,
music,
mm, mm.
slow paced. And of all of the options that were presented to the people living with dementia, the least disruptive was the Venice programming.
Mm, mm.
So why is that? Well, people who are living with dementia, we know that with dementia, our processing speed just gets hammered. The way that we
Right,
take
right.
in and the way that we have an outflow of audio and visual experiences
Sure,
is
sure.
really diminished. And I mean, we experience that as older people anyway, right?
Of
I mean,
course.
processing speed goes down, but with dementia, it goes down precipitously. So no longer able to track audio and visuals that are happening at the same time. Um, Difficulty telling fact from fiction,
Mm,
difficulty following a plot. And I'll pause there for just a moment and share that I recently was a presenter at a Michigan Assisted Living Association conference where I led a panel, and the panel discussion was low tech and no tech solutions for people living with dementia.
right.
All of the panelists had dementia. I started by asking this panel of people with dementia, what do you like to watch on TV these days? Now, as you can imagine, if these people were intact cognitively enough to fly to Michigan and sit on a panel, you know that they didn't have really advanced dementia. But the answer that all of them but one gave was, oh, I don't watch TV anymore.
Mm.
I don't watch TV. I have the capacity to choose, and I choose not to watch TV. Why? I can't track the plots. It's the talking and there's movement. They're happening at the same time. It's really hard for me.
Sure. No, absolutely.
I
Yes.
get lost. I get
Yeah.
frustrated.
Yeah, I can
And
see that.
so,
Yeah.
so if these are people who are actually fairly intact cognitively, what is it like for somebody who is years down the dementia road, who is now parked in front of a box that's playing regular TV that they cannot hang on to, and that gets upsetting, right?
Right.
So you now have my two data points. Regular television viewing does not work for people with dementia. Families, whoa, look at me. Families who are supporting people
Hey,
with
wait a minute, wait a minute.
dementia.
We love the balloons. Did you see the balloons?
Celebration, right?
Celebration. Yay. Thumbs up. I guess I can. No, I don't know if that'll
I
happen.
don't even know how I did that.
Yeah. It's amazing,
Um,
right? Zoom is amazing.
yes. So my two data points are television viewing, regular TV is not okay for people
Mhm.
with dementia. And it's very difficult to connect with people who have dementia, but if you can connect over something visual that is moving at a pace that they can connect with, then you might be onto something.
Well, yes. I
So,
mean, listen, as we age, I mean, even this conversation, and you, by the way, are a pretty fast talker. So, you present material very quickly. But for a lot of adults, especially even our audience, I would say, you know, you're going at a good clip, right? They may have to slow this down, and people should know that they can slow videos down on, YouTube and other platforms, and they can crank it down to like three-quarters of a speed or crank it up if they want to fast forward. But yeah, your point is well taken that and how many nursing homes and senior living and long-term care have we both been in where, it's just turn on the TV and go away until, basically feeding time or time to have a meal.
mhm.
And the same thing can happen in one's home, right?
Yes.
And the same thing can happen in one's home. In other words, it may be even hard to operate the remote control.
Oh,
So,
yes.
right, I mean, they're using the remote control potentially, when the phone rings or, a lot of remote controls, even for myself, right? I have a remote control in front of me here, and it's pretty simple and easy for me. But I've seen some remote controls with, 35, 40 buttons on them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to know where I pause or turn the sound up or turn it
I
off.
know.
And so, even at home, and most of our constituents who will be watching this are still at home, and they're loving their lives
Yes.
at home. It's not always easy, but they prefer it to a community setting. So I guess if we can fast forward a little bit, just to focus on at the moment what Zinnia TV actually delivers, and then how it's delivered.
Sure. And also, thank you for the reminder that I speak at lightning speed. When I'm doing a live presentation, I always start by saying that as I get excited, the rate at which I communicate doubles. So please raise your hand as a reminder if I'm going too fast. So thank
Yes,
you
well,
for that.
I have tinnitus, right? So for me, when certain pitches of tones, right, coupled up with fast speech, I'm starting to get words that are clipped. And so
Yes.
not all of the words are coming in. And I oftentimes will ask people who are presenting to me something, please, I need you to slow down. You don't realize how fast you're talking. And I understand, but I'd rather understand more clearly every word you say.
Oh my gosh,
And
absolutely.
so and I think it's especially good for our constituents at home that maybe watching this on their phone or on a tablet, or some people on their computer, they experience the same thing, and they have maybe some hearing loss, or you know
Yeah.
we're at different cognitive speeds all of our lives, right?
Yes.
So bearing that in mind, talk about exactly what gets presented, like what can be seen,
Yes.
and why it was chosen to be used within the Zinnia platform, so to speak.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm going to so to get there, I had shared with you that regular TV doesn't work, that I had discovered that I could use these little videos on my phone that were
Sure.
more like the programming for a Venice video.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
background in technology, friends who work at Apple, I reached out to my friends at Apple and said, "Hey, I'm creating these videos for a person who's living with dementia, but I don't have enough content. All I have are my pictures. I would like to be able to show my husband videos like this that have to do with skiing or that have to do with mountain biking
Right.
or rafting, things that he loves."
Interest things that he loved.
Right. So how
Right.
do I get more content on my phone? Anyway, that led to my having a conversation with a fellow who had recently left Apple, a man by the name of Frank Lee. He was on the design team for the product that I was using on my phone to
Mm,
create videos.
mm.
And after our conversation, we agreed that, we might have an idea here for something that could actually serve other families who are living with dementia,
Okay, makes
which
sense.
leads us to
Makes
the
sense.
conversation about what is Zinnia and
Right.
who is the rest of the team. So Frank was the guy who did the design of Zinnia. We brought in a lovely lady named Berenice Freedome, who is our content person. She's a visual artist and a filmmaker. And then Frank had worked previously with a gentleman you have met named Bill Yuniowski, who is our CEO.
Okay.
So, what is Zinnia? So, Zinnia is the solution that I was looking for as a dementia family caregiver. It's kind of like you can think of it as being sort of like Netflix for television, in that it is an app that runs on a TV or on
So
a
let me
tablet.
pause you there. You say app, and a lot of people know the term, but a lot of people don't know the term. So
You bet.
let's explain what the word app means, if
I
it's
will
a
do
word.
that. So, in the beginning, Zinnia was something that you ran from a website. You would have to go to www.zinniatv.com and you would play videos, and on your computer, you would watch videos. But what we recognized is that people
Right.
needed a very easy way to watch videos on a larger format screen, right? On a television, for instance.
Okay.
We
Okay.
wanted to meet people where they were. So when you have something like Netflix, Hulu, Roku, All of these things are little programs called apps that are easily loaded onto your television. And in fact, in your television, using that horrific remote, right, that's
Yeah,
difficult to
yeah.
deal with, you can choose to go to the App Store and you can buy an app, which is the program that runs and shows you the videos that you can play that are part of Zinnia TV.
So app
Just as you
actually
want.
stands for, I mean, let's be really specific. It's short for application. And
Exactly.
it
An
started,
application, a program. Yep.
the term started with software application, and software application became app. And so when
Yes.
we're talking about a software application that works on your phone, your tablet, your TV, all the different, your laptop, your PC, all these different screens that we can be in front of at any one time, and maybe multiple screens at any one time,
Yes.
they can have these software applications on them. Again, we call them apps today. App stores is where you get them. And then these apps are kind of the underlying foundation for delivering the video content in your case, right? So they get the app, and then the app allows them to actually select the videos, search videos, play videos, and depending on what type of screen it's on, it could be on a TV or on a laptop or on a tablet or the phone. It all works similarly. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. Let me take some notes here. All right. Yes,
Oh,
you
this will be
presented that.
recorded, you know.
Yay. You presented that so succinctly. I really do appreciate that. And you're exactly right. So somebody who's sitting at home would be able to, on their television screen, excuse me, click on the Zinnia icon, and Zinnia is the little picture that says Zinnia. Zinnia will fill the screen, and what that looks like is a bunch of different categories. And so a category might be um, animals, it might be interests, it might be faith programming, it might be sing-alongs, it might be caregiver education. And whatever they click on, they will then see a whole bunch of little pictures that are each associated with a different video. And so they click on the video with their remote, and that video then starts playing. So
Okay,
the
so
Zinnia,
let's just break it
sure,
down so that our viewers really get the concept even at a more basic level. So
please.
I'm a Comcast household, and there are Verizon households, there are Roadrunner households. These are
Mhm.
all third-party entities that provide the internet to your home, right? And or
Right.
TV. And so YouTube is a TV provider, and there are a bunch of providers out there. But if I want to go watch something on, again, I'm taking a brand name here, so trademarks belong to the people they belong to. But if I want to go watch something on Netflix, I go and search on the big Netflix icon on my TV, and I move my cursor through my using my little phone remote control,
Mhm.
and I select Netflix, and that opens up. And if I need a password, I put a password in. But most of the time, the password I put in once, and then it's good for some future period, right?
Mhm.
Same would be true with Zinnia. So Zinnia would sit right alongside of Netflix, right alongside of ESPN, right alongside of the home, networking, whatever, home shopping network, whatever app you might have on your device, right? Could be a large screen TV, could be a small screen phone. It's going to be right alongside those. And they'll
Yes.
select that once they enroll, and once they log in. They won't have to log in every single time. And so it'll be kind of much quicker the next time that they go online with Zinnia.
Yes.
And they can probably favorite something. So they can say, oh, I loved the puppies. Mom loved puppies. Dad loved racing. Dad loved chopping wood, whatever it is, right? I'm sure that there's 1,001 things and activities that people can like and want to watch. It's kind of like watching these factory videos where you see, um, things being stamped out in thousands of parts, right? These, have you ever seen those
Yeah.
factory shows?
I am actually passionate about industrial processes. So
Oh, me too. Me too. That's a whole nother, it's not dementia unplugged care conversation, but we have to talk about that someday. But it's a calming thing. Maybe it's, hanging lights on a Christmas tree. You don't know what it is, but whatever it is, whenever you find what is calming to that person, and you do want to provide something calming, then you'll favorite that. And so, again, from a very basic level, what you allow people to do is turn on their TV if their TV is enabled, select the Zinnia app, select their favorite show, one of however many that they choose, and they can always find more, and then they'll watch it. And
yeah.
they can watch it together, they can watch it alone, they can use it to calm a situation,
Mhm.
but they probably can also use it to invigorate a situation.
Yes. So
So
there
talk
are
about the invigoration part, because a lot of us get focused on the calming part because that's what we see in nursing homes and senior centers where they put a TV program on. It's really to kind of babysit somebody, right? And
absolutely
we don't really care for that, right? So
right.
so how do we invigorate somebody? We want them to brush their teeth. We want them to get up for dinner. We want them to go to a holiday event. We want them to feel comfortable going outside.
Sure.
Um, that we want them to be comfortable with people coming over to the house. There could be a
Yes.
lot of different ways in which we need to not only, I mean, yes, calming is important, but then invigorating can be also important.
Right. And then there's life. So, great question. So there is a channel that is called Activities of Daily Living. And so I can click on the Activities of Daily Living channel and it will pop up with videos like let's drink water, let's take medication, let's use the toilet,
Yes,
let's
yes,
shower, let's get
yes,
dressed.
yes.
And the idea is that I can nag somebody and say, "Come on, we need to get dressed. We need to get dressed. It's time for us to get dressed." Or I can say, "Hey, let's watch a video." And we watch the video that is simply people getting dressed and
And
enjoying it.
it's
And
a
it's just,
visual, it's a stimulation
yes,
that says, oh, you know, and because people are alive inside. We hear that phrase, right? That comes from
right.
music and other things where people say, oh, that person living with dementia is really still there, and I believe that in my whole of hearts. Is that just because somebody can't express themselves doesn't mean that they don't have emotions, that they don't have feelings, that they still don't have processes and that they're thinking and cognitive processes. They do.
Yes.
So, how do we direct? How do we coach? How do we support that person? And I
With
think
dignity,
with
right?
dignity, with respect, and
And to let them be in charge, right? To let them have the idea. So if
sure,
I
sure.
play the Let's Drink Water video and I have some glasses of
Maybe a
water,
smile, Allison, is the approval process,
yes,
right? When
yeah,
that person sees babies or puppies rolling around and or horses on a farm, and they smile, and you can talk about the horse that they once had or the horse they
exactly.
still have or the puppies or the babies or so that's really fantastic. So let's shift gears here just a little bit and talk about the options that are out there. So we know, there are these therapeutic programs out there for people. I mean, people can get them on, these other platforms, YouTube as an example. Um, so what do you bring to the table, right? I mean, people can kind of get that for free. So,
Yeah,
if they pay a little bit of money to have the Zinnia, um, you know, what do they get that's different than that?
sure. No commercials, for one thing. No dramatic shifts in volume, for another thing.
That's very
No,
key.
it is important. No surprises. So if I were to put on videos in our interests channel, which includes things like baking and sewing and woodworking and
Right.
cars, I know that I can step out of the room for a moment, and every one of those videos is going to be slow paced. There's not going to be, if there's any dialogue, there's very minimal dialogue, and it's friendly messaging kind of dialogues like, oh, those puppies are so cute, right? But it's not something that is people talking rapidly with a plot to follow. I have no idea if I put YouTube on what the next video is going to be, or whether or not that video or the commercial that's going to pop up will be appropriate for a person who cannot necessarily tell fact from fiction. So with Zinnia, it's peace of mind.
Mm.
The other thing that we have discovered is that people will know after watching Zinnia with their loved one that, as you pointed out, there are videos that are favorites. And
Mm.
I know that every time that my husband starts to get kind of activated because of something that has happened, that instead of me activating along with him, I know that I'm just going to put on the Cars video. And it brings me peace of mind to know that in the event that there's an issue, I have something in my back pocket that I can rely on.
And it's
I think that,
actually, yeah, I
go
mean, if
ahead.
I can just pause for a second, but we touched on it briefly, but there are also these things that ultimately you can do together. And
Absolutely.
instead of being at each other this way, you're facing side by side that way, sitting, we talk about the boob tube and we talk about, just sitting watching the boob tube at night. And listen, my wife and I enjoy a really great show. But the one thing that we do when we sit together is we're sitting together.
Right.
We are sitting side by side on the same couch. It's not common these days. A lot of people have two big reclining chairs, but we still enjoy sitting side by side, laughing together, enjoying shows together,
Hmm.
and looking forward to those opportunities to kind of decompress and take an opportunity to do something that we both enjoy and can talk about it and can reference it later. And I
Yes.
think that, this is just first of all, I think what you've done, and we're coming to a close here on our time, but I just wanted to say, I think, Allyson, what you've done together with Bill and the rest of the team that you mentioned, Frank and others, I just really, really appreciate that you took the time to take the situation between you and your husband's situation, and transform it, right? As I wanted to do as well, to transform it into something that benefited more people than outside of yourselves, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to serve others. And that's what, as a Dementia Society, that's what we're about. We're about serving other people. So we want to, let people know that these services exist. Zinnia is one option. There are other options, but we've had this great conversation with you, Allyson, and I just want to thank you so much for being here today. We're going to wrap it up here. Do you have any closing words for those that might be watching? Any things that you want to share in closing?
Yeah, I think two things. One is that if people wanted to look at Zinnia, if you go to our website, which is zinniatv.com, like the flower. I'm wearing little zinnias on my shirt today.
Oh,
They're over
nice. Can't
there.
see them very well, but
I'm a
yes.
mad gardener, which is why it's called Zinnia TV, because
Okay.
zinnias
Okay.
thrive even in conditions that are less than optimal. So
See, I
zinniatv.com.
didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay,
And if you
so
go to that to the website, you can sign up for a free trial, but are also a bunch of videos that you can watch for free. And so
yeah,
you can sit with your loved one, watch a few videos, see if they work for you. And if
yeah,
they do, great. And if they don't, that's okay too. But I
yeah.
also do want to say that we have done lots of research, both academic and with hospitals and long-term care communities. And when we survey those people who subscribe to Zinnia, 80% of the caregivers who subscribe say that Zinnia reduces their own stress. Because our thesis really is, at the end of the day, that if my loved one is happy, then I'm happy. And
Yeah.
that's what we're about, is trying to bring ease and joy into the lives of people who are traveling together through the dementia experience.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. So I guess again, to close out this Dementia Unplugged care conversation, I'd like to thank Allyson again for representing Zinnia TV, but also the concept of therapeutic television. So thank you again, Allyson. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye bye.